Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. It is Beatnix night yet again. So excited. Uh, I am actually at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I am on the second level because tonight we are actually opening our doors for the open mic at 9 p.m. So I'm upstairs. That's the stage below me. In an hour, there will be live performers. But we are here for Beatnix night, and thank you so much. I'm so excited about our lineup. Yes, it is. I am in the balcony. I'm gonna lay my hair down and be like, Rob. I'm the Rapunzel, you know what I'm saying? But Beatnix is about celebrating Latinx artists in the beatnik tradition of poetry. So Latinx, and the X for me stands for everybody that is disconnected from their bloodline, their roots by colonization. Some of us don't know actually where we're from. That covers a lot of ground. Our indigenous people, our African American people, our Caribbean, the diaspora. So Latin X. X stands for all of us. That's how I see it. And so I'm so excited. Poetry is life, the beatnik tradition. Miguel Algarin founded the Nuyorican Poets Cafe alongside tremendous poets through a very important era in Nuyorican culture. 1973, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe was founded, and it was all about poetry, resistance, honesty, truth, and this is a home for that. Our first performer is someone that is an educator, an activist, queer Nuyorican living out of Philly right now, has performed at the Apollo and the White House and hundreds of colleges, is a fellow, has won grants and awards. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, I'm so excited about this. I've been trying to get this poet since last year to get onto our Beatnix night. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Denice Frohman.
Thank you so much, La Bruja. Thank you so much for having me. So excited I could join y'all tonight. I miss the new yo. I miss being in that building. I miss walking past that line, trying to get in the front door and not wait on that line. I miss it all, and just always a pleasure and an honor to be part of anything that the Neo is doing, anything that La Bruja is doing. La Bruja, you deserve your flowers. That's why I'm here, to give them to you. You are an important and critical part of why I'm even doing this. I wouldn't probably be here if I had not been exposed to your poetry early on. You were one of the first Puerto Rican women poets I ever saw. I was stumbling into the Nuyorican Poetry Cafe at 16, 17 years old, and you changed my life with Lemon and Maida del Valle and so many poets that were rocking the stage. I could take it way, way back.
Se me paran los pelos, my hairs are standing up. Oh my God.
I was sitting on the speakers in the back. So just want to say thank you. Such an honor to be here. I got 10 minutes, so I'm going to give you 2 poems and then a shorty if I got time. This poem is called A Queer Girl's Ode to the Piragüero. Shout out to the Piragüero, the Piragüera. Shout out to all the street vendors who are play a central role in our community, giving fresh fruits and vegetables to low-income communities, and who we've known are the frontline workers. So this poem is dedicated to the Piragüero, and it goes something like this. Oh, Piragüero, my first lover, the only man I ever wanted anything from. I sprinted half blocks for you, got off the bus 2 stops early, took the long way home just to see your rainbow umbrella. Oh, Piragüero, candy cool syrup god. Boricua, Batmobile, wooden cart pushing, bobsled papi. When the viejitas asked for the 10th time whether I got un novio, the closest name on my tongue was you. Who else made me break my neck in 2? Who else gave me so much for $1? Who raised hell when they nicknamed your island delicacy snow cone or worse, shaved ice. I trusted you, the hallelujah work of your bare hands, the dirty white kitchen towel you laid over a fat block of ice, and never once did I ask questions. And when they pushed you off 9th Ave, when you packed up on 96, I only saw you after ball games on 131st and 5th, when the hipsters threw ice in paper cups, added nutmeg and real ingredients like mint leaves, called this an upscale makeover for a poor man's treat. I wanted to shout out, no, leave my man alone. Tell me, who else could turn a blue shopping cart into a 57 Chevy or a mom and pop shop? Maybe the elotero on El Centro, the chudo ladies by the A train. Maybe my mama, once a nanny who sewed curtains for a couple upstairs, made an office out of her hands. Like my pops, who cut his saxophone into the velvet flesh of night, rearranged the altitude of a palladium dance floor. And then a plump wad of cash, a worn rubber band, a 401k shoebox, which is to say, praise everything we build under the table, the underworld of workers, wielders, America's thumping bass line, the chorus of a country where 2 for 1 is the best hook to every good song I know. Like the way you turn my tongue into a red carpet, like the first woman I ever loved. Oh, piragüero, you winter my whole mouth. You conductor of cool. You're the only one I know, the only one who can cover the thick heat like a DJ scratching a glacier. You make the whole city rock. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. We set it off at Beatnix tonight. Shout out to all of my fellow performers and all the people on the open mic list. This next poem began with a conversation that me and my mom were having intentionally about the colonial relationship between the US and Puerto Rico. My mom came here during the Operation Bootstrap era in the 70s, born in the 50s, and migrated to New York City in the 70s. And so like she was just repeating a lot of things that our community's been fed that, well, we need the US, don't we? Or we can't make it without the US. And so we've been building a really amazing, intentional like relationship around talking about that. So this poem is a short poem. It's called Art of Defending the Crossover, or Debunking the Myth that Puerto Rico Needs the US. This is part of a series of basketball sonnets I've been working on. Basketball was my first love before poetry. And if you think about what the crossover is, it is a move that is about intentionally misleading you. Art of Debunking the Crossover, or Debunking the Myth that Puerto Rico Needs the US. Stay low. Don't believe the shoulders. They lie like two false gods. Will lead you in the wrong direction, will leave you in limbo, then have you believing hype and history you didn't write, will have you sign your life away. Instead, believe the waste, everything else optical illusion. Think Jones Act, Operation Bootstrap, the Labor Department's migration office. Don't board the ship of shifts. See, the trick to surviving is to never get caught flat-footed, never get caught reaching for something you can't have. All right, this last poem is, thank you, I appreciate it so much, such an honor. This last poem is called City Kid Pastoral. I wrote it when I was upstate in the boonies at a writing residency a couple summers ago. And as a kid who is a product K through 12 of the New York City public school system, I never went to Nantucket, never been to the Vineyard on vacation. So I really didn't have a deep relationship with upstate. And so this poem was written a couple summers ago. City Kid Pastoral, Blue Mountain Center, New York. Flashlight under my right arm in the dead of night. A half sprint back to my cottage, clapping twice to scare the deer, though I am scared, which seems like a case of whoever smelt it, dealt it. City kid, thick in the woods of ferns and fungus, I've traveled 6 hours for the gift of space and time. This residency, a reprieve from the taxi cab's racket and ruckus of 21st century dings. So here's the deal. I've spent 20 minutes trying to shoo a fat bee out of my room through a small gap in the screen, its striped body crawling up and further away from the opening. And normally, I would have ended the inconvenience by now. But I'm in the Adirondacks, where such things seem extreme, noticed, where at night the loons and coyotes exchange hot verses over the lake, and every writer swears they can tell them apart, but they can't. Where it's so quiet, I can hear the dragonfly's small motor hum on the dock while reading Solmaz Sharif's essay on erasure, which, she argues, is a colonial act of obliteration. The bee is working my last nerve. I've got bad poems to write, at first drafts to edit. I scooped the little prick 3, maybe 4 times toward the peephole, away from my cheap impulse to smash it. And before I lose my patience, someone remind me, kindness is not a favor. It is perhaps what Aracelis proposes, recognition. Besides, the little nugget is probably just a big ass fly masquerading in a black and gold uniform. Let's call him nature's referee. But who can be sure? I'm still itching for ruin. And now my palm grows smaller, so small it could thread the screen. Meanwhile, the coyote loons cackle, the bee's tush wiggles, and I wonder how often I've crawled against my own survival. What little mercies work their ways beyond my sight. My precious bee, forgive me. If I know cruelty, I've practiced that English on myself first. Besides, what do I know about beauty? Everything I love is alive and terrifying. Thank you.
Denice Frohman! Wow! That was brilliant. It was so wonderful to finally have you be part of Beatnix. Everybody's blowing it up in the chat. You can see powerful, bravo, amazing. Everybody loves you. I love you. Thank you so much. I mean, in that intro, woof! That really touched my heart. Se me pararon los pelos. You know, you just never know how far, you know, the ripple effect of creativity and words and intention. And yo, from Puerto Rico, my one woman show is coming back at Ostos. You reminded me because we need to decolonize all of our Puerto Ricanos. All of us, we need to decolonize Puerto Rico. And you know, maybe is it just us? Or is it all of you too? We need to find out. Denice Frohman, thank you. Make sure you follow Denice. Visit her website, denicefrohman.com. Hey, yo, I'm down here doing the show. Turn that music down, please. They don't even know I'm here. Anywho, they don't even care. We're going to keep it moving, keep it grooving. Right now, on the open mic scene, this gentleman is how I got to know him. And then we've gone on to publish things together, do, you know, work, just activist work, teaching work. Ladies and gentlemen, Storm God's in the building. Show some love for Paul con queso, Paul LaTorre, yo. I'm trying to unmute you. What happened here? It's not asking to unmute. Do you see it?
There we go, bro. Sometime we just gotta iron out the kinks.
Yes, Paul!
I was here shouting in my own balcony like, y'all hear me? Thank you so much, Gotti. Once again, congrats to you, the interim executive director of the Nuyo. Feels only right. Thank you for the honor of being here tonight. I feel in very blessed company. I share to everybody, and I'm just so grateful to be sharing the stage with so much talent. Shouts to the online Nuyo community, shouts to the in-person Nuyo community, to the Nuyorican tribe. So I have a couple of pieces that go together, that are complementary piece. If I have time, I'm gonna read a third, but I'm gonna gauge my time because I have a tendency to go the fuck over. So I'm gonna definitely rock 2. If I got time, I'll rock a third. These 2 are kind of entwined together, and a lot of my culture growing up, I didn't necessarily know. My Latinx roots, and a lot of it was given to me later on in life through association, because a lot of mine was denied internally. and also by external forces, but just like not growing up speaking enough in the house Spanish. So yeah, both of my pieces are about tongues. This first one's called Lengua. My ancestors stole tongues and were the ones who had tongues, hot iron prod taken, ships rode in on and ferried weight in the belly of those same ancestry. Aching and pleading, release made the hymnals of survival sung in the hull songs worth singing, bringing with spices, sazon, salsa, adobo criollo. See, the getting over never begins, but there's always the get down. The spread round me, watch my feet cut rugs and carve dirt circles huddled around stovetop as if raging bonfire with cast iron pot, skillet, bonchinche bubbles as we break into canto, cause I got royalty, got loyalty inside my DNA. Even if y'all don't see, beyond my goatee of near conquistador, can't help but resemble the fathers that made you, even if they raped your great grandmamas into your simple act of being. Okay, lineage and legacy led itself to this next piece, and I specifically wrote this piece for today's event. Thanks again, Bru, for the honor of being at this event. I was supposed to be in January, but I had to shift some shit around, so I'm honored to be here at Beatnix.
So this is some new shit for Beatnix?
Yeah, this is some fresh, just off the press shit. Bruised tongues. I sat so often beside my mother at her vanity, well, bureau, because honestly, we were far too poor for vanity, a solemn chair she could ponder reflection, trying her best to apply cover-up over the bruises left upon skin by processions of men not worthy of her magic. Chief amongst these, my father, see, it's a shit-kept secret that she left him because he put his hands not only on her, but also us. A well-worn drum of trauma pulled taut, she proclaimed ends today, and that was the final straw cut from a field of stalk. With that, the camel's back concaved as she broke away, us in tow, a kid on each hip and one following with, and unlike Bath, she never looked back, fleeing as he left to teach one day, mashing gas of her 86 Corolla like getaway just to beat the daylights out of afternoon. Proclaimed she couldn't do this life of servitude much longer, playing part of dutiful partner who'd leave her Mardi Gras float, parade purple-hued, black and blue contused, and although I would place ice packs on cheekbone and rub neosporin over her wounds, I knew I was half composed of the culprit of all her hematoma. And see, I come from a long line of men who use their strength to intimidate, to leave marks on arms and necks as means of calling dibs as if pit bulls pissing on property. My tongue, a snake's forked and split between tolerance and dominance, father-figured misogynist beating messages of what it means to be men into us. And it took so long for me to massage that out, to parse patriarchal propaganda from truth, because my father drained all he came in contact with, left broken wrists and cervix exsanguinated from at-home coat hanger twisted hooks for hands, like Pan's nemesis, the pirate mangling whatever manages to remain in wake of ship. And I say this with no hesitation. I do not flinch at speaking such atrocities into light, because see, it is only when we make shadow of history's barbed wire fist stitching itself into us that we are doomed to repeat its hits. And I'm well aware the marks colonizers have left on our mother's flesh, macheted white knuckles cleaving what they grope, sickles slicing through fields of abundance, because whether you accept the science or not, you must acknowledge we are all descended from one point of origin, the same collectively stirred pot of all Genesis in West Africa, which really means that all of us diasporaed and were byproducts of Black girl love. We refuge-seeking refugees handed hand-me-down recipes which emanate from stewed of whatever grew from simmer and brew of these Brujas cauldrons, and all of us seeds of Atabe who never knew of their being planted, but with salesmen at helm demanding we produce produce. Their macheted arms hacking don't allow us to grow wild and free. Pressure to be some commodified thing they can market and sell up market, put us in cells and rob us of ability to exist, auxiliary to photosynthesize oxygen and release general bruises festering because a wound needs air to heal, to breathe. Take inventory of source for being the best goddamn single mom she could be, holding down Fort C. She ain't need no man to fertilize, legitimize, or guide her. All she needed was autonomy, but he clamps down tighter. The more she tries to break free, fangs sinking as crimson spills slick as petroleum. He takes from her gut without returning a modicum, all profit and gloom, never once stopping to acknowledge her labor of love. for carrying us inside her, even when she knew we may grow to become her undoing. And the elephant in the womb is so many of us are maturing into the fathers we swore never to be. But perhaps that's just manifest destiny, growing up to heap abuse, leave purplish blue on once pristine, unblemished cheeks, melanin cracking at edges and shit. Fatigued as she is, this strong Black woman was never the type Tyler Perry would even consider penning scripts for. She doesn't get the starring role, spotlight deserving of. Ask Entezake Shange when the rainbow will beam for colored girls who dig into red clayed earth of orange groves to rub amarillo green of plantain peel and sprout wings while drowning in deep blue sea of indigo as they cry violently violet for someone, anyone, to witness them in every gradient. See, it's the relationship between the bruise and the hope it will heal someday that keeps the act of succumbing at bay, at least for me. But still, our hearts are not in right side chest when the reggaeton charts don't trend for dark-skinned girls who only considered OnlyFans when the rain dance of performative wokeness's dollar bills just wasn't enough. J Balvin balking at winning Afro-Latino Artist of the Year and rebuking the honor, saying he ain't Afro-Latino, but only after cashing in on dancehall, Taino, Segundo y Primo, Yoruba drum bass beats while he puts Black women on leash, treats them like dogs in his videos and calls it all art. Tell me though, truly, who are you? Referencing mi gente when you say, mi música no discrimina nadie, así que vamos a romper. I mean, if it's not for the descendants of Black, indigenous women, Black people, Afro-Latino, who are mi gente then? Is it the monotone cast of In the Heights? Like Café con Leche, gone heavy on leche? I guess all culture is fair game, so long as you ensure it's more curdled milk, white and homogenized, dairy farms full of lies, pasteurized, colonized by those who'd industrialize ancestral songs, robbed from villages, raped, pillaged, and pilfered tradition shit. Even key food aisles get stripped bare of crema, kefir, and Greek yogurt first. No place safe left for live cultures. These vultures will snatch your cuisine and call it theirs, call it a trend, and exclaim it takes a few broken yema to make a Western omelet. And yes, our hoods get gentrified, See, even my lengua is not suave when attempting to dance its mother tongue. It trips over its own papale in the fight to conjugate, stepping on toes like gringos, learning merengue, my tongue a graceless machete, swinging in identity's cane field, a sharp-edged thing lodged in bark of the poetry of life, plátano producing palaces of mofongo, coconut blending up, coquito to be our best export since Lin-Manuel or Rita Moreno. See, even a machete can be a vessel of healthy masculine, a provider for the harvest and starving months, or it can be weapon, able to sever limb and butcher boys, running out bodegas quicker than they can call for help. It all depends on how you intend to wield yourself. Because even a third generation caballero removed can still be a espada sharp. I mean, is a 6 generations removed conquistador no longer conqueror? When does the tongue soften from afilado to blunt instrument capable of conducting a bomb-ass bomba y plena set? Can we not metallurgy our words to speak of our ancestors and honor the Conga and Congo River flowing within us from that mother stream, source of consciousness we all bleed from? Let our tongues be the drum, the shelter, a shield, not the driving tip of a sharp-speared fist meeting plane of her face like tectonic plate shift. And next we know we are the crack of the whip, crack on which we step that breaks our own lineage. See, we can lean into father's tongue, all callous, twisting mandible with serrated edge and call it destined or due, as so many of us are fighting to sustain ourselves with sway of our mother's hips like slick pink pantois on lips to drive lead-footed in 86 Corolla into that pulsing thump of the dance she stomped with the same duende as the day she first delivered us into refuge. We must vow not to allow our words to be the pugilist fists swinging the pendulums of our forefathers' tongues recklessly. I am still learning to accept this muscle behind the teeth as my own best thing, to know our speech has every right to be soft, masculine, sharp, feminine, or two-spirited, not some flailing dick making every chance to speak a measuring contest, yet strong as can be. Vulnerability, I will do my best to tend to lacerations inflicted both by and to me with the same care, because after all, looking after one another bridges the sacred space between our mother's tongue and our father's blade. It is the only way we can truly reach through time to decolonize minds and replenish wells of our bloodline. Don't hesitate to lick our loved ones' wounds and let the healer heal the bruised within you.
Paul con queso! Oh my goodness. See, and that is why Paul is part of Beatnix, because he is a genius. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Wow.
Honored to be here. Honored to share the stage. Ashe. Love all y'all.
Wow. 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 Something is good when you wish you wrote that shit. Paul con queso. Thank you, Paul LaTorre. That was brilliant. So many people need to hear it. And the message continues. And it comes in so many different ways. Our next performer is somebody that I have been just loving on the stages. Comedic and conscious at the same time. Awakening minds with a smile always. I love this woman, ladies and gentlemen. Show some love for Suni Reyes.
Wepa! Thank you so much. La Bruja, baby, you're bringing like la creme of the creme, okay? This is like, okay. And then we have an actual theme without planning it. Like we're all into the colonization, just like just focus, just
Alignment. It's all alignment.
we are aligned. We understood
Yes.
the assignment is literally fire. Oh my God. Okay. So before I share my little thing that I just came up with, super, super hot. I just came just out of the presses. I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story. Since we're talking about colonization and all, staying in that line. So this past Halloween, I dressed up as colonization. Because it's a scary thing, right? So I was truly like, what could be scarier than colonization? Let's do it. So I whipped out, a colonization outfit, improvised in the spot, and took my son to a white neighborhood to trick or treat because that's where the good candy is at. So we went to this white neighborhood. He went as Spider-Man, and and I was colonization. And 3 minutes into the crowd, this white man approached me and goes, "Wait, wait, is this a joke or is this real?" I mean, colonization is very real. Some people think is a joke, but yeah, my people have been colonized for 529 years. So this is my outfit. And he was like, "All right, didn't know that about Puerto Rico. It's Coney Island. It's like kind of like Long Island, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but colonized." Like I just kept trying to get into his brain that colonization was the theme of the day. And then my son looked at me and was kind of like, "Ma, you're being like the Jehovah's Witnesses of colonization. We are trick or treating. It's Halloween. Stop it. Can you just not talk about it for 1 second? I want my candy." "Oh, do you have a minute to talk about the atrocities of colonization?" That was me the entire time. But I held I put myself together and kept going. But this man, the same man, did not give up. He approached me again. "Hey, I want to take my family on vacation to Puerto Rico. You recommend a place where I can stay?" "Yeah, my mother's crib. How about that? How about you go to my mom's crib and I get a real authentic Puerto Rican experience, and stay in my childhood peach stained twin bed where you can just like, chill with the mosquitoes, no AC and electricity every other day. If you want to go to the beach, you got to pay for that gas and then bring el caldero and try to, not be kicked out by another gringo. Like just get the real experience, right?" Because what do they want? They make it easy. They don't need a passport. They already own the place. And then where can I sell? Get out of my face. You can stay home. Stay home. Okay. That's where you can stay. All right. So that was the story to preamble this this piece I wrote today called Colonial Subject. Here we go. Everywhere I turn, I keep hearing everyone sing the same song. We don't talk about Bruno. Pero what no one really talks about is colonization, the real history of our nations. Pretty pictures on the screen, visual representation, and cool beats can erase the colonial violence, destruction, and division. That is not the vision I saw in my dreams. The pain and trauma our indigenous and African ancestors suffered was not preserved in a white candle. Yo les prendo una velita to help them handle the generational trauma, to heal the wounds para seguir marchando. Luz y progreso para todos mis muertos. I want to hear people in high positions with the pull and power to really scour a little deeper, to expose the systems left in place by the explorers and Reyes, a system that until this day takes our land, our casitas, away from mi gente. The foreigner settler is always protected while the native has to serve and see their own people turn against them, because that's how colonization works. Divide and conquer. Make them believe they belong. Tell them to protect the masters. Keep moving along. Our candle wax is out of whack. The descendants of the colonos don't give a crap. Our mental health, our teachers, the homeless will soon collapse. Y la luz se fue otra vez. Who's gonna fix the wealth gap? La mamá de la mamá de la mamá de la mamá de la mamá no tuvo la oportunidad de criar a sus hijos sin el palo y la chancleta, porque eso fue lo que aprendió el legado del capataz. We deserve love and nurturing. We deserve to live en paz. The colonizers made us believe we were worthless. They made us pray to a white Jesus on our knees, to be scared of hell, when the hell had already been brought to us. But be grateful, it could be worse. Black women raised the colonizers' kids while their offsprings were being sold. Black men were demonized while they had to build the white man's fort. Our indigenous people got lost in the mountains del olvido. They fought as long as they could, but their artifacts are still in cautivo. Whiten the race, they told us, to move up that ladder. But now we're crabs in a bucket who have to be reminded that Black lives matter. Divide and conquer, that's what they did. Their statues are still being erected while the vendepatrias get elected. 529 years later, oppression being perfected. They took away our native tongues, our drums, our power. Our tribes got together to survive, porque en la unión está la fuerza. Only the lucky ones stayed connected. The majority was completely dissected. No hay orilla, hay un santo, prende una velita calladito para que no se espanten. They vilify our spiritual practices to prevent an uprising, like the one Haiti achieved con valentía y conexión espiritual. Lideraron una rebelión que a Puerto Rico nunca pudo llegar. No, aquí everyone is nice. They kept telling us to mix and match, to leave the darker hues behind. In a distant memory, I have a great-grandmother who died alone in poverty y opresión. Muchas otras fueron víctimas de la operación. Y mi abuela le dijeron, acuérdate que tu papá es español, cuando perdió a su madre antes que el biberón. I see the ones who didn't claim their Blackness until 2 days ago, sharing their Caribbean recipes with the gringos and defending their ignorance. But I don't want to make this about race, because we're all humans with morals, values, and traits. Imperialism divided our space. This is about the dignity and the right to be free. This is about telling it how it is, not covering the sun with a song when we don't talk about the repercussions of colonization.
Suni Reyes, yo, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And that was new shit too, inspired by the night. Yo, Suni went in. You gotta check all of Suni Reyes's videos and work. This is not just an act. This is like life. This is, we bout it. This is how we do. Suni Reyes, ladies and gentlemen. It's no laughing matter, but it's important to still be able to laugh despite the injustices that we are witnessing to this day. It is a land back movement. You know, I feel like me becoming the interim executive director for the Nuyorican Poets Cafe is also a movement in land back. And Puerto Ricans need to be the stewards of the island. The way that the Haida Gwaii do it. You want to see sacred Haida Gwaii land, you have to go through the Haida to visit it. And that's how Puerto Ricanos need to be. We need to reclaim and make sure land back and artifacts. And, you know, being born and raised in the Boogie Down Bronx, I have learned so much about the Bronx Indigenous. You could see the video that I started like last year, Bronx Indigenous on YouTube. And I was able to honor the Siwanoy people. I'm from Soundview in the Bronx, and there was a Siwanoy village called Snackapins. And with the help of our next and final guest, we sang to the spirits our way, the way that we know how to honor the dead, because we really don't know how the Siwanoy did it, but we did it for the Siwanoy people at Class and Point, reclaiming Snackapins for the indigenous, for First Nations. We have to continue this movement, land back and artifacts. So he is a leader, he is a musician, he's a writer. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one and only Lonnie Harrington. Hold on 1 second. Asking to unmute. No, it's not letting you unmute. Let me see. Let's try again. How about now? Still?
Is it something I said? I hadn't said it yet.
Lonnie!
You know, Caridad, you plan ahead. I've always respected that about you. That's what's cool.
How wonderful to have you, Lonnie Harrington. How you feeling tonight?
Well, you know, should be better, could be worse, but I'm here, you know, cancel my plans for the beach given the situation. But hey, we'll see what happens tomorrow. You
don't like swimming in the snow?
Whoa, we ain't gonna go there. 'Cause you know, I'm originally old Florida country boy. There ain't no word for frostbite in the languages of my folks down there. But let me interpret things my way for the next few minutes, if I may. Okay, a little bit of technical difficulty. Give me 1 second.
We are presently working on a documentary. Like we filmed what we did in October for Indigenous Remembrance and for, you know, in Snackapins. And it was also with Miguel Sagwe. And stay tuned for that. But I met Lonnie. We've met a couple of times, but we connected in Lincoln Center. We were doing this performance. It was women in poetry, and Lonnie was backing up another indigenous woman. And he was in the dressing room. He was warming it up with the bass, like man. I was like, what, Lonnie? And then he told me Lonnie is an encyclopedia. He's being shy right now and having technical difficulties. But if we could just put his brain on a record player, whoo, extended play of wisdom, I'll tell you. Lonnie, you know, you could do it Acapulco and be fine.
I am a lifetime member of the Technologically Hall of Fame, so I'm going to keep this real simple right now.
Okay.
Okay, so it does look like it's going to work. Let me do this whole other thing, though.
Well, tell everybody, you know, your indigenous background, you know.
Okay, give me a moment. The old guys, there's a method to my madness, Kenny. So you know what? Things that make you all go, Let me greet you in some of the original languages of the original neighborhoods, as well as some of my family stuff. But let me tell you, Quinganalaloma, Wani, He, Hakame, and depending who was cruising in the neighborhood, Sekon. Now, since Caddy kind of brought it up, let me greet you in some of the languages of my family from my mother's side. Okay, Chiantamo, Estongo. I'm looking at a picture of my pops, may he rest in peace. My father's side of the family, Osio, Halito, Hatito. Things that make you go, Things that make you go, Where do you rest your hat? Where do you rest your head? Where do you put your feet up? Now, I'm not a native of this particular area, but I acknowledge I live in a region as part of Lenape-Hoking, okay? And we're talking about a region that goes down to what we now call Delaware, coming all the way up the Hudson River, central Hudson Valley, heading over eastward toward parts of Western Connecticut and back down. Where do I rest my head currently? I'm southeast of a formal settlement known as Jamaica or Jamaica, not to be confused with the Jamaica or Jamaica of the Caribbean of our Taino relatives. That is the island of wood and water. I'm talking about Place of the Beaver because I live in Rockaway territory. That's where I currently reside. Been here for a long time. Now, if I'm going to look at a sort of boundary line being Grand Central Parkway, we have some of our Matinecock relatives a little bit to the northeast of here. Matter of fact, Mr. Technologically Challenged over here had a hard time. I was coming from another virtual forum with some of our Matinecock and Shinnecock relatives were talking, be that as it may. But for the sake of this evening, I'm going to work my way west now. I talked about the Rockaway. I'm coming into the land now known as Brooklyn. Oh, and by the way, that wasn't the original name. We lived in, where I am right now, Queens is the Pominock, the western part of Sewanahawkee, or the island of Shell Heaven, all Long Island. But as I said, we're heading west right now, so we're now in Brooklyn. I'm thinking about communities such as Mannahanning, one of two communities near present-day Coney Island, and Nyack. Yeah, sounds like a place upstate. Well, you know what? It originally was a village roughly where the base of the Verrazano Bridge was. And the reason why that place upstate is there because when the neighborhood went, that's where the folks had to relocate, and that's where they ended up. That's why we got Nyack up there. Let me also talk about Ware Post, and remember that. Coming back to that in a moment. Ware Post is roughly where the Brooklyn Academy of Music right now is. And these are some of the villages of the Canarsie people. Now, the government doesn't recognize them, but there are still Canarsie people around. Yeah, they're not cooperating in their own extinction by playing dead, just like my Taino relatives, okay? Now, let's come across the water. Now, when Caridad talked to me about this, and she put it in the context of Beatnix, I started saying, wow, she's talking about the old timers. Then, of course, maybe I was looking at myself because I qualify as an old timer myself now. But be that as it may, I'm going to jump on where Caddy is right now. In that particular region, Lower Manhattan, Manhattan, depending what dialect you're talking in, we're talking about the island of Rolling Hills. Now, I mentioned Ware Post before. That was a Canarsie settlement, but check this out. Where City Hall is, that also was Ware Post, because people like the Canarsie would use the bottom half of Manhattan as a resource. Places like Orchard Street, Cherry Street, there's a reason why I have those names, along with people such as the Raritan and the Hackensack coming out of what we now call Staten Island. And think about this, not too far from where Carrie is right now, the Bowery, that was one long cornfield. Check that out. But when she said Beatniks, I started thinking about those old timers. I said, wow, did those cats really know where they were hanging out? Did they know that that place that we now call Astor Place, where that cube is hanging, is Kinte Koying? Kinte Koying was a council spot where people like the Canarsie, the Raritan, the Hackensack, coming from further up on the island in Westchester County and the place we now call the Bronx. Okay, the Wisquasqueak, the Siwanoy, the Bergamowank, they would come down to meet, along with the Sappahannockens, who actually had a village and trading post at roughly what we now call 14th Street and 8th Avenue. Did those Beatniks know about that? Did they know where they were resting their feet, where they were reciting their poetry? I'm curious. Now check it out. I got to make another tie-in to honor my African ancestors, because we are in Black History Month after all. They gave us a month. Don't get me started on that. Be that as it may. So the Dutch and the English showed up, and yeah, quote me, there goes the neighborhood. On an aside, I've always felt, by the way, that every school child in the hemisphere should learn how to say in any Arawak language, there goes the neighborhood, but don't get me started. Carrie knows she's glad I drink decaf, but be that as it may. The Dutch actually freed some enslaved Africans and gave them land along what was then Minetta Creek. Now, you may know this Minetta Lane and Minetta Street now, it's very small. That actually at one point was a part of a larger body of water where people used to fish. Well, check this out. Some of those formerly enslaved ancestors, such as Antonio Portuguese, Gratia Dengoa, and Manuel de Reus, were granted farm plots along the banks of Minetta Lane. When the English got here later, they renamed that particular place the Negroes Causeway. Check that out. Now it's said now, because it was paved over, but it's said in certain basements in the village, you can still hear the water that fed into that stream. And one of the places you can actually hear it is in Jimi Hendrix's studio, Electric Ladyland. Many people that have used the studio, all of a sudden it's quiet, they can hear the water running behind the walls. You can't make this stuff up. But I wonder how cats like Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, did they know this stuff? Or maybe another cat you don't think about, but Grandpa Al Lewis. Now, do you know who Grandpa Al was? Because may he rest in peace. Grandpa Al was the guy who played the grandpa on the Munsters. But you know what? I got to meet him on a few occasions. He was one of the hippest cats you ever wanted to meet. I mean, the cat was down. He was cool. I mean, he used to be everywhere. And just listening to him talk was a trip. I know he used to have a show on WBAI, but he got around. I know he used to hang out at Palladium and other places like that because one of his close friends was Machito. And I actually remember seeing him crying at the memorial service at Machito, which I also attended. So yeah, stories you hear about and sometimes don't hear about. Let me say also in some of the local languages when I say, Akwani, Akwoy, Ni, peace, and Mangalaka, later.
Ooh, Lonnie Harrington.
With technical difficulties, and find out this thing was working 10 minutes ago, but you know.
That's okay. You know what? I really believe that maybe, it's because we were meant to hear that wisdom that you just blessed us with. Spirit speaks loud. They have their way. They know what they're doing. And it was so important to get that historical context. That's the truth. Did the Beatniks really know what land they were on? Do you know what land you're really on? It's important for all of us to delve into that history, embrace it, and go back to the land. Decolonize your mind. Decolonize your mind first, and then it will ripple, because that indigenous spirit is alive. It is in you. And, even if it's a small percent, it survived. Honor it and make peace within yourself. So I've been working on my one-woman show from Puerto Rico. It is going to happen February 18th at Ostos. I really want you to see it. It's free to the public. It's sold out, 75 seats overnight, got reserved, but we're going into the bigger theater now. So we're honoring all of the, the original people that had tickets, but we're ready for more. And this is I want to share a little bit of it. We invoke ancestral spirits to help us attain what has been stolen. Land back, artifacts. Land back, artifacts. So these ancestors of ours that had dreams of freedom whisper in my ears at night. Fight for the land back. Make them return our artifacts. And if you agree with that, when I say land back, you say artifacts. Land back, artifacts. Land back. Our strength remains intact despite the centuries of attack. Land back, artifacts. Land back, artifacts. Stolen is that which those void of connection lack. Land back, artifacts. Land back. Matriarchal elders know what rape is. You call it frack. Land back, artifacts. Land back. Sotheby's sold millions from the tombs of our dead. Land back, artifacts. Land back, artifacts. El Yunque is crying for her natives to live. Land back. Land back. Africa, Spain, Taíno, madre del jibarito. Defended por Albizu, I've made many sacrificios. A mí misma me critico. I have taught all of my people to turn the other cheek, though I've been a refuge politico to the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, the English, the Catholics, the soldiers, the tourists, the tourists, the tourists. I've treated everyone as equal. Now there's a war against all Puerto Rico. Capitalistic government owns me as its paraíso. ¿Cómo me explico? ¿A qué me califico? ¿Por qué me mortifico? I am not poor, but rico. We were offered fool's gold while they robbed us of a sharehold, while nacionalistas foretold the takeover of control. We danced and fell into the American mold. We warmed ourselves with Tropical memories we warmed ourselves with. Tropical memories while facing the American cold. But what is untold, we will expose. There are no more cheeks to turn, though the hypocrisy has left us holding two faces. We've been slapped with debt we didn't earn, told to strap up our boots, but left without shoelaces. Not welcome in one, but living in two places. But between here and there is no place for me. Oh, say, can you see? This rape culture is killing me. And they've asked me how I let it go this far. Beneath the shirt off my back that I gave all the scars. This patriotic love of one flag. This promised freedom of one star. While there's 50 United States. And I don't want to be one more. My children since birth have been treated as whores, and what was mine, but mistaken as yours. Collectors of foreign sectors are banging down my door, and if you ask me right now what it is that I am thinking, I'm holding my people up to stop them from sinking. They would see the richness of my power if they started interlinking. And the colonial mindset would start collectively shrinking. So stand up. I said stand up, my children. I said stand up. We will always be connected. I said stand up. Por el cordón umbilical. I said stand up. Con los huracanes de Yokahu. I said stand up. Y las riquezas de Atabey. I said stand up. Stand up, my children, I said stand up. If you came from me, you will go from me. You will come to me. You will grow from me. Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico. Poor to Rico, poor to Rico. We are not poor, but rico. We are not yours, but equal. We are the noble people. And that is the meaning of Taíno. So, Puerto Rico, come and see it at Ostos, working with Anthony Carrillo on the music. Thank you to all the Beatniks that are in the house. You are family. You already know this will continue. Thank you, Denice. Thank you, Paul, Suni, Lonnie, Taíno T, Hang Katu. The movement is on. We need each and every one of you. So I'm here at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. The stage is below. They're going to open up the doors. I thank all of you for being on this journey with me. Con mucho, mucho amor, fuerza, para siempre. You already know Nuyorican Poets Cafe is the home of truth. It is your home, the home for you to speak your truth. I look forward to seeing you in person. Mi gente, con mucho amor, I thank you. One Beatnix down. Next month, we will be celebrating the anniversary of the passing of our founding father, Pedro Pietri, el Reverendo, and I will be bringing Jesus Papoleto Melendez, his best friend, who's really like our tío. He's really like the founding tío. And he's still alive with us. And he's going to be here with us for Beatnix Night in person at the cafe, along with Pedro Pietri's son, Spiro Pietri, who's going to be sharing his father's work. And my son, Kelson Afro Thunder, is going to join us to share his poetry as well. And I'm locking in one fourth performer. I'm looking for music to close it out for us, but that's what next month is going to be looking like in March. We did it. Stay tuned, stay in touch, stay connected, and stay strong. Make a donation to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I am interim director, executive director for 6 months. If we make this 6 months happen, the board will vote me to continue permanently. So let's make these first 6 months count. Make a donation to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, nuyorican.org/contribute. Let's hold this cultural institution up for our ancestors and our people and for the generations to come. Muchas gracias. Thank you to all my beatniks, all my poets, all my peoples. Ache, hanhankatu, tainoti, ahora y siempre. Peace.